哇，我摄影起来很暗呢，摄影模式好暗哦。哦，变亮了，变亮了。
The year 1471. It's a very dark time here in England. We are halfway through the War of the Roses, a brutal civil war between the House of York and the House of Lancaster. Now here at Warwick Castle, we fight on behalf of the Lancastrian army. We fight on behalf of Sir Richard Neville, the Kingmaker. And it is our aim to put King Henry VI back upon the throne of England. Now we've just received news that Edward IV has taken London by force and declared himself the king. And this is not to stand. Orders have been passed down. We're to march on London and attack the city directly. For the city walls, they are thick. We need many siege machines. We will need cannon. But most of all, we will need that. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, one of the largest and most powerful siege engines in the world. The Warwick Castle Trebuchet! Now this is Ursa the bear. She stands at 18 metres tall and weighs roughly 22 tonnes. And in 1471, Ursa here would have been state-of-the-art of trebuchet design. All because of those wheels you see moving in the centre of the machine right now. You see, traditional trebuchets, they didn't have those wheels. No, the rope which goes from the arm down to the back of the machine and then into the centre wouldn't go that way at all. Instead, it would go out the back. That's where it'd be attached to a team of horse or a team of oxen. Now those beasts of burden will be made to walk away from the machine itself, using their own brute strength to strike down that arm and lift that counterweight box that you see hanging in the centre of the machine. Now this was a very good way to load trebuchets. It was actually quite efficient. However, it suffered from a couple of major drawbacks. Number one, a good proportion of your good fighting men would now be stuck at the rear of the machine, leaving the front relatively undefended. Also, sieges could take weeks, sometimes even months. Your men, they would grow hungry. And hungry soldiers are not reasonable people. They would start to leave your cause unless you were to feed them. So all of a sudden your horse, your oxen, it'll be used for food, and then you would have no way to load our trebuchet. So somebody somewhere had a great idea. We'll use the wheels found in medieval cranes. We'll take them, we'll place them either side of the trebuchet. So the same technology being used to build castles, to build walls, was now being used to rip them back down again. And that's what you see right behind me now. We have one wheel either side of the machine itself. And through the centre, it is connected via a central axle. Now, every time that wheel moves, the smaller axle moves with slightly more force. The rope that would have been attached to our team of horses now coils around that axle itself. So every turn of the wheel coils the rope around a bit more, dragging down the arm and lifting up that counterweight box that you see hanging in the centre of the machine. Now, that box, it weighs 1 tonne when it is empty. Inside of that box, we've placed an extra 4.5 to 5 tonnes worth of rock. So what you're witnessing right now this second is 4 people lifting roughly 6 tonnes worth of weight, all because of the technology of those 2 wheels. Now the trebuchet itself is a very interesting machine. The wood that is made to build it is made out of oak. The whole of the frame is built out of oak, nice, sturdy, making sure that it can take the pressures when that box drops. The only part that is not oak is the arm itself. That there is made out of ash. So we have the perfect balance between strength and flexibility. So that arm, when it flies, will create a nice whipping motion, sending that ball that we are about to shoot absolutely flying. So the person in the back, that there is our trebuchet, or our trebuchet master. And it is his job to make sure that the wheels are moving fast, to make sure that the wheels are moving and our people inside are nice and safe. He is in sole operation of this machine, and you'll see him throughout the course of the next 5 or 10 minutes wandering around the back of the machine, making sure that all of its operation is perfect. He communicates with the winders inside the wheels and makes sure that the operation is going well. At the back, he shouts out some commands to them. He's telling them how far until that trigger comes down and is able to engage. Now, on the arm, halfway down, you'll see our trebuchet master reach up for it in a moment, is a loop on that arm. That loop has a counterpart on the back of the machine itself. That is a hook, and that there is our trigger mechanism. That hook goes through the loop and holds that entire 6-ton weight. However, we have some modern safety precautions that we'll put on today. We put a pin through the trigger to stop the trigger going off by itself, and then a safety chain is placed onto the back of the arm to stop the arm from moving even if the trigger was to fail. So that is what you'll witness happening right now this second. Now, the wheels have stopped moving. it looks like all of a sudden we can shoot our machine. However, we cannot. You see, the rope that we have used to coil around that central axle is still there. So what we've just done by putting down that arm is actually make the machine more difficult to shoot. However, now what's going to happen is we're going to get our winders back into the wheels to walk back in the opposite direction. You see, we need to get all of that rope back off the central axle, but now that the arm is locked down into position, it's not going to go anywhere. Now, winding in these trebuchets said to be one of the worst jobs in history, and here's why. Once you're walking in this direction, you're having to power those wheels themselves. You're using all of the muscles in your legs to move those wheels. Now, those wheels weigh 1 ton each, but also you're lifting up that counterweight box, so the back of your legs begins to burn. The muscles in your body start to ache, and it starts to feel like you're walking up a hill, which is just getting steeper and steeper and steeper. It is a horrible task, and it is a very, very difficult one. However, the worst part of the wind comes with what you're witnessing right now. Not only is it the worst, but it is also the most dangerous. You see, now they're walking in this direction here, the wheels themselves are free to walk under their own momentum. So the faster you wind, the faster the wheels get. But the faster the wheels get, the faster you have to wind to keep up with them. And so on, and so on, and so on. The faster you wind, basically, those wheels are going to get really fast. And they'll get so fast that eventually you'll fall over inside our wheels. When you do that, you'll hit the floor quite hard. The momentum of that wheel turning will drag you right the way around the back until you get to the top. And that's where gravity takes over. Now, that gravity will take over, bringing you slamming down upon our central axle, breaking your back and killing you in the process. A nasty way to die. However, there is another problem with winding these trebuchets. And it comes in the form of a motion sickness that we attribute to the trebuchet. We call it trebuchet sickness. And that comes most likely when you're walking the way they are now. You see, the wheels can get slightly faster. The light comes from the outside, filters through the slats in the wheels, and creates a flickering effect across your eyes. Now, that flickering effect starts to make you feel nauseous. The more nauseous you become, the more you power on, try and get the job done nice and quick. But that will make you more nauseous. Until eventually you feel so sick inside of those wheels that you will throw up inside of them. Now, throwing up isn't nice at the best of times. However, it is much worse to throw up in an environment where the floor becomes the ceiling every few seconds. It will be absolutely disgusting and it will go absolutely everywhere. So, to combat this, our trebuchet master encourages our winders to look out of the wheels. So that flickering effect isn't quite so bad. But also, you'll see out on the front of the machine are 2 of our crew members. Now, those crew members operate a very simple brake. To stop their wheel getting too fast, reducing the effects of that flickering, what they'll do is they'll push down on that plank of wood that you see sticking out the front of the machine, and that there creates friction on the bottom of the wheel, slowing those wheels down and making sure that our trebuchet is nice and safe. Now at the back of the machine, you can see our trebuchet master. He's needing to get rid of all of the slack rope. That rope needs to get put somewhere. You see, if we take the rope off the axle, leave it at the back of the machine itself, then it will slow down the arm as we try and shoot it. This will create a massive problem. You see, if that arm is to go too slow, then it's going to create a problem with the releasing of our ball. We release our ball from a simple slingshot. So, if the arm is messed with in any way, we can have a number of things happen. We can have the ball shoot directly out the back of the machine. That there is one of the misfires that can happen, and it is quite common. You see, if the ball goes out the back of the machine, obviously it's not going to be a problem today because there's no one down here on the island. However, at the back of the machine, in army, you would have more trebuchets waiting for you. You would have banks of men waiting to invade castles, and they would be taken out by the projectile which we have misfired from our trebuchet. Or, the ball could not release at all. If the arm takes it all the way over and that sling bag clutches onto that bag, it will bring it right the way over the machine and slamming back down into the framework of the machine itself, destroying our own trebuchet and killing the people who are inside it. Or worst case scenario, that ball doesn't go to the back, it doesn't keep hold, it goes directly up into the air. Now, of course, what goes up must come down. So that ball will go right the way up into the air about 100 feet and then come right back down on top of the trebuchet. Hitting the framework itself would send shards of wood and metal flying in every direction possible, putting all of us down here on the island in danger. So that is what our trebuchet master does right now at the back. He stands at the back there and makes sure that all of this slack rope comes off and goes into another place. Also, he makes sure that the rope itself follows the framework. Now that framework goes all the way up from the arm and then back down what we call the A-frame. He needs to make sure that that rope is all out of the way. Because in a moment when we release the trigger, that counterweight box is going to drop. All 6 tons of that weight is going to drop directly down. If any of our ropes were to snag at that point there, Ursa here would pull herself apart under her own strength. Obviously, that cannot happen. Because if you have a look closely at our machine, if you get a chance to come over later on today, then you'll notice there are no bolts holding together Ursa at all. Instead, she is simply pegged together using pegs. Now, those pegs hold the machine very sturdy, they hold it very good. But when that 6-ton weight hits, that there is put under an awful lot of stress. So, we have to be very careful. For you would see, if that there was to catch, our machine pull itself apart and pretty much disintegrate underneath the power, killing all of those involved. Obviously, it's a very, very dangerous thing. Now, trebuchets themselves, they were very clever. They had a very specific purpose. And that was to actually hurl objects over city walls and into the centre of cities themselves. You see, we had cannons to bombard walls. If we wanted to bombard walls, that's what we would use. We'd create a nice big hole in the wall, and then we'd have to send our men to fight in the streets. Close quarters combat would cost us about half of our troops. We'd have to send our men in to fight, and then, even if we were to win, we'd have to defend the city from reinforcements with a massive hole in our wall. So, what we did instead is we tried to make life inside of the cities a living hell for the occupants inside. We had to make sure that they would leave their cities under their own convictions. We need to make sure that they would come out to us and either fight us in open ground or just surrender outright. So that's why we use trebuchet. And you'll see that when we release our arm and shoot our projectiles, it will go high into the air and flying into the centre of the cities themselves. So what could we shoot? We could shoot all manner of objects. We could shoot rocks, aiming for internal structures, actually trying to create physical damage on the buildings inside cities. It was a very way, again, to destroy morale. But they shot a number of other things. They used to shoot fireballs. Fireballs over to cities, they would create a blazing inferno. You see, most of medieval cities, inside their internal structures would be made out of wood. They'd have thatched roofs. So sending over fireball after fireball after fireball would create a blazing inferno, making sure the siege would end pretty quickly. But they also got quite creative. They would do any kind of horrible warfare, germ warfare. They would find a horrible, rotting carcass of an animal, throw it over a city, aiming for the water systems, take out the water system, and that siege would end very, very quick. What about psychological warfare? What they would do is they would find dead bodies of fellow soldiers. Then they would fire them back into the cities, again, making sure that life inside was a living hell. Now, we're on to our loading process itself. The wheels themselves have stopped to move, and our trebuchet master has ordered the clearing of the machine. So it's time to load one of our projectiles. He orders one person into the centre of the machine, and that person is our loader. That person stands right there underneath that 6-ton weight. You can see them moving around in the centre of the machine. Our trebuchet master communicates with them throughout the entire loading process, making sure that all of the ropes are in the correct position. A sling bag has been placed in the central trough, and we are going to be putting our ball into that central trough. And that's where the machine will be loaded from, right here in the centre. Then, once our trebuchet master is happy, you'll hear the command clear the machine, and our loader will be pulled out of the way. And then we will be able to start the next part of the firing process. So, what we'd like to show for you guys today is what it would be like to shoot an 18-kilo rock using slingshot. The command goes out stone loading, and as I said, our loader is pulled out the way. Our trebuchet master steps up to the back of the machine, and he starts to check over. Again, making sure all of them ropes are out of the way, making sure that we will not have any of them snap. Once he is happy with this, you'll see him stand up on the back of the machine itself. He stands up to the back of the machine and starts to remove those all-important safety features, starting with the safety chain. Chain's been removed. He then stands up with a steady hand, removes the pin, holding the trigger firmly in place. Now the machine is live. All that remains for our trebuchet master to hold the trigger, take a few steps back, and pull on that rope, unleashing our arm. However, I feel that each and every one of you over there could give our trebuchet master some encouragement. I propose a countdown from 10 down to 1 with a big, loud cry of loose at the end. So I ask you all, are you ready to count? Yeah. Come on, that was terrible. I ask you again, are you ready to count?
Yes.
Then let's do it. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go, they shall fly through the air roughly 160 miles per hour. The Warwick Castle Trebuchet! Now, what you have just witnessed could not be done without an awful lot of hard work. And the people inside our wheels today haven't been trained professionals, no. They have been 6 members of the public. So please, fill your lungs, give a massive cheer and a round of applause for our Trebuchet Master and his crew! Now we have lots to see and do today. Next up on the hill at 12:30 we have our fantastic birds of prey show, the flight of the eagles. Back down onto the island at 1 o'clock for our jousting, and then do not miss our fighting nights, the Warwick Warriors in the central corner. But until the fireball show at 4:30, thank you very much to everyone.